I've never seen a movement that truly reaches out to the rest of the world. I think that was one of the things that really struck me, was that the movement itself was not just to benefit those of Turkish descent, but truly wanted to reach out beyond the borders of Turkey, around the world. Out of children, you know. My name is Brian Desbiens. I'm a retired educator. I was the president of Sir Sandford Fleming College in Peterborough and worked in the college movement. And I'm a father of 3 children and 5 grandchildren. I have a wonderful wife named Ellen. We live in the Peterborough area, and I was born in St. Catharines and lived in Canada, but I've had the privilege of traveling the world and especially had the opportunity to travel to Turkey recently and truly enjoyed it. I'm really quite admire, I think would be one of the terms, the movement. I've had an opportunity to work with other organizations in Canada, such as the Optimist Club and other clubs and that, but I've never seen a movement that truly reaches out to the rest of the world. I think that was one of the things that really struck me, was that the movement itself was not just to benefit those of Turkish descent, but truly wanted to reach out beyond the borders of Turkey, around the world. So I'm just extraordinarily impressed with that. Secondly, the objectives of dealing with poverty, of dealing with education, dealing with diversity, creating dialogue across boundaries. I really admire that, appreciate that. It seems to me that we need more of that around the world. And what struck me in our study tour group that traveled to Turkey was made up not just of people of faith, but people who were agnostics, but they were welcomed. All of us were welcomed to have a conversation and to learn. And the Hizmet movement seems to really walk the talk. They not only have outstanding objectives and goals, but it truly do carry through on those. And so, unlike the Optimist Club, where we did some really good work in the Optimist Club and the Rotary clubs that I've been a member, and we took particular things like we were going to bring glasses to the world. The direction that the Hizmet movement is going in terms of increasing education, particularly for women, which is a major problem, are such of a large scale that it's the scale of it. Not only the philosophical foundation, but the scale at which they're trying to intervene to make a difference in the world is really quite impressive. He's a remarkable human being. He's one of the, I have some heroes in my life. Gandhi is one of those, but since I've learned about, I have not had the opportunity to meet this gentleman, but to read about him, to read his works. He's just a remarkable individual who I can see, and a humble individual. What I find that the great people are extraordinarily humble. He's a very humble person. He doesn't want to take credit for the Hizmet movement, yet he is a driving force. It's his philosophy, his belief, his people that get inspired by him to want to participate. I found his works particularly valuable. My background is in psychology and education. He has a philosophy that many people can be teachers, but not too many can be true educators. And so he really gets it. He really understands that education is not just about learning a concept. It's about learning values. It's about learning to be a person. It's drawing out of children, helping them become whole in this world and be able to. So here's a person that's of faith who understands education. And so that really touched me as well. I think that his ability to forgive also is amazing to me. And I find that the great people in history have had this sense of being able to forgive, strong-willed and determined, but at the same time, ability to want to reach out. The whole idea of reaching across religions, his going and visiting with the Pope, or bringing the different people of different religious faiths together, or not faith together, so that we can touch and it's an acceptance of us as human beings in this world that I think is extraordinarily meaningful for me. First of all, I think I've mentioned the four objectives, addressing poverty, addressing education, addressing dialogue. But it's the concreteness of it as well that's just so impressive. In education, for example, the fact that there's been so many schools created around the world, not just in Turkey, but around the world, in so many countries around the world. That's quite an amazing impact. In Turkey alone, to be able to bring real education to all the regions of the country, particularly to ensure that people of all socioeconomic background and beliefs have an opportunity. That's just quite impressive. We visited hospitals, which would never have been created. Teaching hospitals that can do the good work. The emergency services, that are available, obviously to domestically in Turkey, but around the world. And I remember when the Haiti problem came up, and I was watching it on television. I saw, the Turkish intervention group right there, one of the first on the ground, in a country halfway around the world from them. So there's so many ways that you've had significant impact. The dialogues, the IDI Institute here in Toronto and then other places in Canada creates in Canada opportunities for us to have conversations that simply aren't usual. But the ability to create these opportunities and create opportunities for us to address some real issues, I think is extraordinary, not only in Turkey, but here in Canada. We're an open society, but sometimes we don't have the conversations that we have to have. And so for the IDI to create those conversations is important for us here in Canada, as it is for the other 160 countries in which the movement is active. One of the reasons my wife and I traveled to Turkey is because we hadn't spent time in a Muslim country. We wanted to be able to go to a country and to have an opportunity to have conversation, to meet, and that, because we typically travel in North America or other Christian countries, to be honest. And so the Hizmet movement itself opened that opportunity up for us, to have an opportunity to visit mosques, to talk about the Muslim beliefs, for us to really understand, something different than what exists in the popular media. What we have is we get bombarded by media here in Canada and around the world, which is all about the negative stuff that's related to Islam. This was an opportunity for us to really understand what the average Turkey person who went to a mosque, what they were doing and why it was important in their lives. So it gave us a sense of what the real life experience of Islam is for the Turkish people and others here in Canada. So it's opened that whole area up to us beyond the headlines of newspapers, so we can understand the humanity and the struggles that people of Islamic faith really have as well. There's so much misinformation. So it's really good to have some proper information, and that's what it did for us. And it not forced us, but it created in us an inspiration to go and read more. So we've been reading more works by people of Islamic backgrounds and from countries that are translated. In fact, we actually acquired some of the books when we were on our tour, and that we've used to help inform us. So it's a desire now for us to have a bigger view of the world, a world in which it isn't just Christian, but it is we knew that, but to have a real experience is very, very powerful. that the Hizmet movement itself is under attack in Turkey. We read about that, and yet it's such a force for good. It makes you wonder, about those that really truly do reach out. They make themselves vulnerable. To try to do good in the world sometimes is a very risky business, and that's what we see here. I see here is that the politics, the real politics of a country, sometimes blurs some of the good that truly is being done. I also think that change it's difficult to make change in countries. Canada, we have all of our issues too here, where people who are trying to do good have sometimes run into difficulty. And I see the same, I guess my perception is so positive towards the Hizmet movement that I find it hard to comprehend, to understand. But I know that the politics of within countries can be very difficult, especially when you're trying to change and trying to be more open. Reaching across boundaries in this world that we live in is a dangerous thing. And the Hizmet movement's all about reaching out and going across boundaries, trying to work with people of different beliefs and bringing ourselves together. And so I understand that that's difficult, and it's difficult to accept for some too. But that's all the more reason why we have to reach out. We have to continue to reach out. And I guess I'd want to, the message I'd want to send to the people in the Hizmet movement is continue. Continue in your beliefs, continue in your faith, continue in your activities, because you're a force for good. And I think we here in Canada need forces for good to help change our society, and certainly it appears that there's a need and a greater need in Turkey. One of the things that I guess we became very aware of when we were in Turkey, because I had the chance to travel to some of the other boundary countries to Turkey, is what a difficult place Turkey. It's the place where the East and West cross. It's the place where Christianity and the Muslim world cross. But it's also the neighborhood it lives in, with Syria and Iraq and Russia. It's a very difficult place to be situated in the world. So I'm not surprised at the challenges that Hizmet movement is having, but the Hizmet movement has moved around the world. It's a world movement now, through the diaspora of the people from Turkey, but also those that they've touched, such as my wife and I.
If we look at what aspect or Hizmet present Islam to the world, Hizmet present an Islam that is moderate, an Islam that is faithful to the tradition, but also open to, I would say, modernity in the sense of development, evolution of the society. Again, open to interfaith dialogue.
I think that again, education for all, men, boys and girls, but particularly there's been a need for those in poverty, lower socioeconomic groups, and for women and girls' education. And the Hizmet movement has done a tremendous job providing vehicles for that in Turkey and around the world.